Hey everyone, Dr. Charlie Johnson, physical therapist. Last week I created a video that outlined the biggest mistake that new grads, including myself, I made this one, make when coming out of physical therapy school. And I feel as though it is that we view success as a destination rather than a journey, okay? And within that video I listed 5 keys to success to help us along this journey. The first one was to find a mentor and model them. Underneath that, I said that you need to find someone who is where you want to be and then study how they got there. So don't study where they are, but study the steps that they took to get there. This can be a little challenging, right? So it seems really easy maybe at quick glance, but in order to find someone who is where we want to be, we first have to be able to answer the question of where do we want to be. So just like if you were going on a vacation, you would never get on a cruise ship that didn't have a rudder or didn't have a captain, because then you would have no idea where you're going. You would never go into a travel agency and try to purchase a ticket to nowhere. They wouldn't be able to sell you a ticket unless you knew where you wanted to go. Same thing in life. If you don't have a clear vision, you don't have clear goals, then you don't have a rudder on your ship and you don't have direction, and it's a little tough to get to where you want to go. So first things first is I want to have you answer this question. The question you need to answer is, what do you want? Seems like a big picture question, and it is, because I want you to start big picture. I want you to start with nothing. Forget all past experiences. You're moving forward now. I want you to have no limits on what you can achieve. The only limits on what we can achieve are set up in our own mind. So there's no ceiling effect to this. Try to separate the whole question of what do I want from what is possible. Forget about possibilities. This is your life and you can create it, okay? With that being said, I want you to get a big piece of paper. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to picture what you envision your life as being and what you want, all right? So for me, this looks something like this. Okay, so it's like a huge piece of paper, like poster board size, and it just kind of has me in the center with all these different little bubbles, basically, all right? And again, it is big picture. It's a brain dump of what I want. So that's the first step, okay? And then when you're doing this, a couple other tips is you can break this into like personal and professional, right? So when you're looking for someone who's where you want to be, you have to think about things that are both personal and professional. So I would think that you wouldn't want to follow a mentor who's where you want to be professionally, but personally maybe they work 24 hours a day, they've been divorced 3 times, they have no kids, and they feel terrible about themselves. So if the two don't align, then you are not going to align with that person. So think about personal and professional kind of aspects of your life and what you want when you're doing this big brain dump. That'll help you. And the next step, again, as we start to funnel our vision, we need to go from this brain dump to very specific goals. And not super specific, just specific enough so that if you were to achieve it, you would know that you did achieve it. You can make it as specific as you'd like, though. So when you close your eyes and you do your brain dump, as you start to think about things a little bit more, they will likely become more clear. So for example, if my goal is to have a private practice, you would say that, in 1 year, I will own a private practice clinic called Johnson Physical Therapy with the power to work when I want to work and how I want to work. The clinic will make $250,000 a year. It will have 2 employees. It will focus on an outpatient orthopedic population specific to spine care. And I'll have an internal marketing department, an external marketing department, and I will work 20 hours a week directly patient care, and I don't know, so on and so forth, right? So that is what I'm talking about, right? So if you want a house, you start with like a general idea, but then you have to think like, okay, I want a house, but it has a white picket fence, and it has 2-car garage, and it has stained glass windows, and it has, green grass and 10 acres of land so that you can, ride your 4-wheeler. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about goals. So this is kind of like my little goal sheet. And that's what I've done. So basically, broken things down from very specific brain dump on one end to specific goals, okay? The key thing about goals is that, and you could maybe hear it in my explanation, is that they are as objective as possible, okay? So try to define that vision. they are unrealistic maybe. Maybe that sounded a little unrealistic. But remember, you want to separate that question, what do I want, from what do I think is possible. So don't limit yourself. Growing up, we're told to be realistic and be practical, but often that just puts kind of the ceiling and this cap on what we can achieve, all right? We don't know if something's possible until we go after it, all right? You should also create a deadline, because then if you don't have a deadline, you wake up with like this tomorrow syndrome. So you say, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow's a bad day, or it snows or something. And then it's like, okay, well, I'll just do it the next day, the next day, the next day. And you keep saying this, and then 5 years later, you look back and you haven't achieved what you've wanted to achieve. No good. It should be written down and it should be visible. I have tape on this. It hangs up on my wall in my PT room. You can put it on your mirror in your bathroom, or even on the back of your front door. I've done before, so that you can read it aloud when you head out the door in the morning. So just like in PT, if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. So write it down, make it visible, and keep yourself accountable. Okay, and if you're going through this process and you feel confused at any point, what I will say and what I've found is that confusion is not usually a result of being unsure about what you want, but more about questions of how will I get there. So forget about how you will get there right now. Just write about what you want and put no limits on it, all right? So what I want you to do now, go through the process, okay? Get a big piece of paper. Start with a general brain dump, a creative process. Answer the question, what do I want, both personally and professionally? Just throw stuff down on a paper. Then collect your thoughts from that paper and make it into more specific goals, personal and professional goals. Maybe even take a sheet of paper, fold it in half. One side write personal goals, the other side write professional goals. Make them as objective as possible. Make them unrealistic. Give yourself some reach. Put a deadline, and obviously write them down and make them visible so that you're accountable. Remember, the whole point to this process is that if you're going to find somebody who is where you want to be, you first have to be able to answer the question of where you want to be and of what you want, all right? So you want to create a clear vision so that you have some direction and you can achieve what you want in life. So hopefully this is helpful, and try it out.